Alright guys, so we're going to talk about transformations, and we're really going to focus reflections on this one, and then in the next video we'll talk more about rotations. So here we're going to talk about how to reflect over the line y equals x and y equals negative x. And what we're doing is representing transformations in the plane. That's our standards. And what you're going to learn is how to reflect over a diagonal line, and that diagonal line is y equals x and y equals negative x. Alright, so a line of reflection is the line needed to perform a reflection. Okay, a reflection means to flip an image, and a reflection is when the path that the image takes to the pre-image is perpendicular to the line of reflection. So here's what I mean. If I have a pre-image, and I'll call this A, B, C, and here's my line of reflection. When I get the reflection, here is C prime, this is A prime, and this is B prime. When I make that line of reflection, the path, and I'm going to put it in blue, the path that the B took to get to the B prime, and the path that the A took to get to the A prime, and the path that the C took to get to the C prime is going to always be perpendicular to the line of reflection. That's very important information that you need to know. This path is also what we call a perpendicular bisector, because if this side is 3, so is this side. If this side is 5, then so is the distance on this side. That's called a perpendicular bisector as well. Alright, so let's jump into our questions. So here it says, graph the pre-image and label the points. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. This is my pre-image right here. So I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, -4 and -1 is A, -4 and -3 is B, and -1 and -1 is C. Okay, that's my pre-image. Now it says reflect the image over the line y equals x. Now this is important because you need to know what y equals x means now. What y equals x means is that there is a diagonal line that will rise from left to right. So this is the diagonal line that goes through 0, 0, and it rises from left to right. Alright, that is your line of reflection. That is what y equals x looks like. So this is the line y equals x. Now it tells you to reflect. So that means I need to flip this figure over this purple line here. So what that means, there's a rule, babies. And so the rule tells me that if I have y equals x, if that's my line of reflection, and my mapping should be easy. Just flip the x and the y's position. So you just change the position of x and y. So if I'm reflecting over y equals x, all you need to do is to flip the positions of the x and the y, and that's it. So to get A prime, hold on, let me move this up. To get A prime, then I need to take, to get A prime, I need to take -4 and -1 and just switch them. So it would be -1 and -4. I don't do anything to the points other than just switch them. So if I do B prime, then I would take -4 and -3, and that mapping would be to just switch them, -3, -4. And then to get C prime, I would just do -1, -1, and the rule tells me to just switch X and Y. So that means I just put the -1 here on that side and the other -1 on the other side. So this was X and this was Y, and I just switched them. So instead of X being first, I make Y go first and make the X second. All right, so I'm gonna go graph my points. So I get -1 and -4. So this is -1 and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my A prime. And then I get -4, and then 1, 2, 3. This would now become my C prime. And then I get, oh, and not my C prime, I'm sorry. That's my B prime right here. And then -1, -1. That would be my C prime. Okay? Oh, and I graphed this wrong. It should have been -3 and -4. So let me go back and get my B prime correct. I'm wrong. I graphed the wrong one. Oops. This was B right here. This is A. Alright, I'm sorry guys. I graphed the wrong one. So this should have been -3 and 4 and -4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, -3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's -4. Alright, and that would be my B prime. And then I'm going to go and connect the dots here. And if you notice, if I fold across this line right here, A should touch A prime, A should touch A prime, B should touch B prime, and C would touch C prime. And notice since that was on the line, it didn't change. All right, so that's how you do that one. So what happens when we have y equals -x? So I'm going to follow directions, graph the pre-image. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, A, and then 4 and 1, 2, 3, and then -1, -1 is C. And there we go. That's my pre-image. And then it says reflect the pre-image over the line y equals -x. So the rule here, first of all, we need to say what is y equals -x? What's that line? So when it says y equals -x, then we draw a line that goes this way. Draw a line that goes that way. All right, so it falls from left to right if the y equals -x. And then here it says write the new points and label. So it wants me to reflect. Well, there's a rule for this one too. So when we reflect over y equals -x, the rule tells us to, once again, we're going to switch the x and the y. But since that's a negative sign there, it's telling you to take the opposite of both of those numbers. So if the negative is there, you still switch x and y, and then you take the opposite of the numbers. So in order to get A prime, I'm going to take -4 and -1, and I'm going to switch them and take the opposite. So y was -1, so I make it +1, and x was -4, so I make it 4. The B prime, you do the same thing, -4, -3. So here I switch, I need the y to come first, so that -3, and I need to take his opposite, becomes a 3. And then the x comes next, so that -4 becomes a +4. And then C prime, -1, -1. That new mapping would be the x, the y was -1, and it tells me to put the y first and take the opposite of it, so that becomes 1. And then the next one says put the x second and take the opposite of it. So these are all my new points. So I'm going to go and graph them. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4. That's A prime. And then I go to 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be my B prime. And then I go to 1 and 1. And that would be my C prime. And there we go. And we did it. And if you fold across this line right here, you should notice that A is going to touch A prime, B is going to touch B prime, and C is going to touch C prime. And guess what, guys? The imaginary path that is taken from here to here is still going to be perpendicular to the line of reflection. And that's our line. So A to A prime is going to be perpendicular to y equals -x, because that's my line of reflection. B to B prime, segment B to B prime, is also going to be perpendicular to my line of reflection, which is y equals -x. And the segment from C to C prime is also going to be perpendicular to my line of reflection, which is y equals x. And you know the line of reflection can change every time. It just depends on what it is, and you have to read the problem. Alright, so you guys, I do believe you have at least 2 homework problems to complete. Knock that out. And if you need help, I'll be in tutoring on Zoom at 2:45 on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that'll be 2:45 to 3:15. Alright, bye guys.